Hello, welcome to an episode of Tarot Art Symposium. I'm Benabel, and today I am here. We are going to be interviewing the amazing and the beautiful Gabi-Angus West. And first, I would like to hand it over to my co-host, Anna Turian.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming back. We have a very exciting night. I'm so honored to have Gabi here, and she is one of my favorite artists. I actually have her deck. I have worked with it quite a bit, and I'm very excited to have her here and answer some questions. As you know, we're trying to create this platform and have artists come in and share their experience and you know, just what makes tarot click for you and the ups and the downs. So we have a set of questions for Gabi. And if you have anything that you want to add, Gabi, you're more than welcome to, you know, just chime in whenever. And, you know, we're artsy people, so we can make mistakes. We take that liberty.
Well, excellent. I believe I get to ask the first question, but before I ask my question, I wanted Gabi to introduce herself. The most recent deck I know is the Tarot Avatara. Do you want to talk about that a little bit and introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, I'm Gabi-Angus West. I'm a painter and I make tarot decks, some oracle decks, and currently working on something else. But yeah, Tarot Avatara is my most recent deck. There it is there. And that's based on the life and times of our beautiful artist, Frida Kahlo, who is my all-time favorite. And it's just made in honor of everything that she is. And it's a painted deck, so all original work.
All traditional artwork, it's all analog. It's really amazing, the artwork, the colors. And it's so funny that you did Frida Kahlo, because I remember during the Bonfire, I already saw that influence. I was like, oh, her style really, there's that same style, that surrealism in it. And now to see that you actually paid tribute to her, that's really amazing. Yeah. So our first question for you is, how did you, as an artist, evolve into deciding to actually create a tarot or oracle deck?
Okay, well, it was around, I think it was 2010. I'm not great with my timelines, but I had started making a series of what I called lucky paintings. And they were small paintings and they were packed with symbolism, and they were sort of be talismanic gifts. So just a little thing that someone could pop up and carry around with them if they needed to. But it was some friends of ours were getting married, and I thought I'll make them a gift. And I started to think about putting all the symbols in there, and that kind of brought me to the Lover's card in the tarot. And I really knew nothing of tarot at the time, so I made them this gift. And the strange thing was with this, that I was never able to give them this gift for a reason. They never received it, but I had this Lover's card, and I thought that brought me into looking at the tarot. So I made myself another Lover's card, which wasn't their strange wedding gift they never received. And I was just going to make a set of major arcana, really, just for myself, just to decorate the wall. They were on canvases, they were 8 by 10, and they had symbolism all around the edge and everything. But I think by the time I got to the end of the major arcana, I found myself making the Ace of Wands, and then I was like, oh, this is a deck.
Is this the Lovers in the Bonfire?
Yes.
So you never gave them the
people
painting.
Actually in that are the people that were getting married, so it was to be sort of a portrait.
That's pretty cool. You didn't give it to them, right?
Well, it was kind of a long story. There was a bit of a long story, and I didn't end up being able to attend the wedding, and I didn't see them then. And then not so long afterwards, they split up, so they never received that gift. So maybe it would have been luckier for them if they had, but it turned out to be not such a lucky painting. But well, I kept it, and it's not actually included in the deck. I remade it.
You immortalized a moment in time for them, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but that was definitely the beginning of my tarot journey. Yeah.
So I'm gonna follow up and ask you actually. At what point in the creative process do you realize that you're going to commit to those illustrations for a full deck? Because, you know, like the ups and downs, and like, is there a particular time when you like, I'm going through with it?
Yeah, I mean, with Avatara, that was one of those decks which was like a thunderbolt moment where it just landed on me that I was going to make a deck for Frida, and
Can we
then
see
like
some of the
nothing
decks?
was
Can
gonna.
we see cards while you talk?
Sorry.
Can we see the cards while you talk?
Oh yeah, well maybe I'll try. Yeah, so yeah, this was they're not in any order, but this was yeah, that moment where you just, I knew I'd finish this deck. It was like I'd taken it upon myself, as in it was like I was very sort of humbled by it, and it was, I felt really like I shouldn't be doing it, because who was I to do this thing? But once that was started, that was happening. But with the new deck I've started to work on now, jury's still out. I'm 4 cards in, which is very early in the whole thing. So for me, it's about working out whether an idea that I have has enough legs to sustain both my interest and interesting imagery to take all the way through, because I want each deck to be like a new challenge for myself, both artistically and symbolically, and I feel like I have to be learning as I'm doing this in order to sustain the interest. I'd also like the next one not to take as long, but there you go.
You know, I'm looking at the Avatara, and since I have the Bonfire, I can really see the evolution of your artwork, even the technical skill and the detailing. Like, it was really good in Bonfire, don't get me wrong at all. It's brilliant, but there's a sophistication here. Like, you really upped the ante for yourself. It's really
yeah, I find when I look at Bonfire now, I still like lots of elements of it. It's a bit rough around the edges in some ways. I do find as time goes on, my art's sort of cleaning a little bit, sort of tightening up a bit, which I don't love that about it necessarily, but I do like that I can paint now what I want to paint. My hand and my eye have got it worked out, and I don't have to be so involved. But yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, so the new one, we'll see.
So when we finish a deck as an artist, we then have this choice to make between self-publishing or giving it to a traditional publisher. I know you chose self-publishing, right, for the Bonefire, and then for the Avatara, this is also indie as well.
Yes, it is. Yeah, this was a Kickstarter, which was successfully funded. Yeah, I mean, Bonefire started off as an indie and is now, Schiffer now publishes it.
Yeah, this one I have is Schiffer. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got the Schiffer one.
Yeah, the original one was smaller, right? Did you have it in a smaller box?
I've got that somewhere here. The original one is this size, so it's really quite a fair bit smaller if I compare it to this size here. So
I need to get myself that big one.
You can see the difference, and that's the Schiffer glossy stock. At the time, I didn't really mind that, because my deck was very small and very matte, and it was very much based on research that I'd done at Eclectic Tarot on what was people's sort of ideal, and there seemed to be a lot of people there that said they had trouble handling even regular tarot size cards, so I made a rather smaller one. But it felt nice when Schiffer did it to kind of go the other way, from going slightly smaller to being a big brassy kind of bright and beautiful bumptious coloured deck. So that was quite a good contrast. But there is actually going to be a second edition of Bonefire with Schiffer coming out. I think it's spring 23, so another year, and I've done some new paintings for that, so a couple of the images there which I wasn't overly happy with, I've been able to update. Some of the really early Bonefire pictures I've been able to update, but I don't know if I prefer the replacements, so we'll see.
How did you choose between how did you choose to go traditional, and why you went back to Kickstarter for the Avatar? Like, how is that experience for you between indie and traditional publishing?
Well, obviously I think the Schiffer side of things is rather easier in some ways, because I don't have to worry about it. I had to write a book for them, which I hadn't written. I'd only had a little white book, and I had to write a full-size book, so that took a bit of time. The amount of time you have to wait to have your deck when you go with mainstream, I think it was if 2.5 years or something from me submitting the images. So it's so long. It's like, because I'd done the indie deck, and because that was only 500 copies, so that was gone. I'd kept a couple, but it felt like the deck went into hibernation for ages, in a time when people might have been interested in having the deck. I wasn't able to supply them with the deck. And then creatively, by the time the deck came out, Bonefire came out, I was so embroiled in other things that it was hard to sort of commit my mind back to Bonefire, because I think I'd finished the Oracle, and I was on Avatara by the time it came out. I'd already sort of had that moment of going, oh, I need to make the Frida deck. So sorry, I'm not really addressing your question, but the self-publishing, I hadn't done it at this scale before. I only printed 1,000 decks. I thought I'd try the Kickstarter to get it funded for the printing. Again, I don't know if I'll do it again. I don't feel like I found the perfect answer really to make it sort of trouble-free. There's no version, I don't think. Have you found that there's no trouble-free version of supplying and demanding?
No, I think what you're saying is like it's pretty much equal in terms of the trouble, whether you go traditional or whether you do indie. They both have their very different sets of challenges. Yes,
very different sets of challenges. I'm not massively inspired by, I think you talked about it on your original forum you did, where you said that you wouldn't, well, no, sort of fulfilling orders and things takes up a lot of time. And you have to prioritize it, because if you have an order, you have to prioritize that over artwork every time. So I tend to finding fulfilling orders is pushing artwork to the bottom of the pile, and it's so hard to get artwork to the top of any life pile. I'm sure you understand.
Yeah. But you get to interact more with if you're self-publishing, there's more of a one-on-one with the reader, with the buyer.
Yes,
there's pros and cons to that.
Yes, that is true.
Yes, there is. There's definitely more pros and cons, but there's cons.
All right, so let's see. Well, we already answered we kind of answered the number 4 there together.
Oh, sorry, did I?
No, it's okay. So I'm gonna ask you, like, what is your design process in terms of like the medium? I know that you work on canvas, at least for the Bonefire you did, right? Are you? Yeah. What type of medium do you prefer?
I do still prefer acrylic on canvas, so it's quite basic. I'm tending to, at the moment, it seems to be that I'm finding the need to roughly draft out the deck at the stage. So really, like, I'm finding that like with Avatara, I found most of the images like straight away in like a big sort of download from wherever they come from, and they were all like small, just rough thumbnails, and then I would draw them up, and then I'll do a pencil drawing, and which I will trace in a very traditional way onto just a colored ground canvas. It's quite basic, and then I paint them in, and I keep painting them until I'm happy with them. Really, it's not complicated at all.
Do you find
one question to add to Anna's? Do you stretch your own canvas, or do you buy the canvas?
No, I'm a big fan of things that you can buy in dollar shops.
That stretching process, I remember it was like you have to like pull the sides and spray it and all.
Yeah, I remember that too. But no, none of that happens now. All this stuff's available off the peg in other places. So none of my paints are very expensive, and none of my canvases are. There's no big splashing out on Sennelier paints or anything around here. Everything's like $3.50.
Hey, I know what works.
Yeah.
Do you find when you like, I tend to photograph instead of scan. I'm wondering for you, do you like to scan to keep the texture, because there's some of the canvas, or do you prefer to photograph?
I tried photographing, and I can't seem to do it with a consistent light, or something happens, because there is the texture. So yeah, so I have to put like a matte medium over the top of the, I have to paint them over with a matte medium, otherwise, because it's acrylic, it's a bit shiny, so you can end up just, all you can really see is the texture. So yeah, I am scanning on a flatbed scanner, and that seems to have been working better for color, though I know otherwise I'm just using my telephone, which is a good enough telephone to take the pictures, but I just can't get the light right. I kind of tried to make myself light boxes and things, but it hasn't worked out. So yeah, scanning.
That's what I use my phone, but I use a watercolor, so it's mostly matte. There's no shine, but yeah, I was curious because I know that acrylics sometimes have a sheen, so it's you have to
it is a bit of it is a bit of a problem with Bonefire. I hadn't really taken account of that, and I'd scanned them, but I hadn't made them all matte, and had to use Photoshop to kind of get rid of some of the texture in the larger areas, sort of the background color and things. So it's a bit of a pest. I like to do as little as.
In terms of size, well, are they big paintings, or are you working on a?
No, they're not. They're I mean, that's the size.
8 by 10, right? I think I saw some.
Yeah, 8 by 10 was, or but slightly different. I got slightly bigger ones for Avatara because the proportions were different, and that's the size I'm working on now, which is a wooden panel. So I'm trying to change it up.
Oh, you're painting on wood.
Beautiful.
Now.
How do I pin this? I want people to see it.
Yeah, that's from the new one. That's from the Hunter Gatherer, which the jury's still out on. But that's yeah. So I'm working on wood now for a change up, which is good. There's another one there.
That's amazing.
That's the Empress.
That's pretty. That's very pretty.
She's breastfeeding.
Definitely see the Empress energy there for sure.
Yeah, so that's the other one.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, it's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
So in terms of the Tarot Avatara, what were some of your challenges when creating that deck? And I know you just started a new one on the wood paint medium. What are some of the challenges that you found? Do you have any stories that you can share with us about that?
Challenges with Avatara. Not so much creatively. A lot of it was based on like arguments I was having with myself, based on whether I felt that I was the person that should be doing that. And I think you all understand. Well, there was. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. But not creative challenges. My challenges to that were time-wise, it blew out too long, because I mean, I started it, I think I saw my first because I never know timelines, but I saw my first Instagram, I think it was 2015, where I made the first painting, which is so long ago. And life stepped in really and kept on throwing me curveballs. We moved house 3 times, we changed towns, several things happened. So it was really just things that slowed me down, things, moments where because I felt like Frida is such hubris. God, I hate myself for it. But I felt like Frida was with me a little bit at the beginning of the process when everything was super creative and I was making the images. But a lot of the time, I think she was doing other things. So I kind of lost the muse a little bit. But I mean, I was very glad that I had all the images made at that stage. So I was always able to paint. I could rely on that. Was able to happen. But yeah, it took too long.
7 years, right?
Oh, it does seem to have blown out. So well, I finished it. Well, well, 6 really, because the Kickstarter was at the beginning of last year, and I think I'd finished the paintings for at least a year and a half before I got to the Kickstarter, because there was the book, and I had Leonard Jim de Narciso, who's one of my favorite tarot artists, but he did the formatting for me, which was great. So he's really good. So that helped me out because I'm technically terrible, really awful. Much to my shame, I've had all the time to learn, but haven't done it.
So do you feel like you had like a muse kind of working? Do you go through like when you're working on each suit, do you have like, do you live the suit kind of, you know, like, I don't know if this is like just me, but like when you're working on swords, like you kind of like, everything becomes mental, everything becomes cups, everything becomes emotions. I tend to dive around. I don't go there's no linear way to I work.
I have gone through processes where I would say I might turn over a card in Bonefire, and that would tell me which picture I might be working on in Avatara. I have nothing linear there, because I found when I made Bonefire and I started with the majors, I felt like the earlier majors were really not very good, and then I found I was doing some of the minor cards. My skills have gone up quite a lot, so I tend to I feel I can keep it a little bit more consistent if I bounce around, just in case I have a style change. It's not quite so obvious. That's kind of what kind of helps me.
I think one of the most amazing things about you as an artist is how distinct and consistent your style is. So even though Tarot Avatara is clearly a very different deck from Bonefire, I can immediately, like, for example, I saw images of it online, and without even seeing, I was like, that's Gabi's. I knew immediately who created because of the art style. That's so hard to do.
Yeah, that definitely.
It's just so amazing how consistent you are.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I don't know that I would. I don't see, sometimes I don't see that, because like I remember Anna saying about she went in and did some extra cards for her deck, and when I went back to revisit Bonefire to look to replace some of the cards, I don't know if it looked like the same person that was doing them.
There's a slight difference, I think. Like I think we can't help that. I honestly think that it's just impossible to be identical to how you painted like 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
It's not only the technical thing, is it? It's also where your headspace is, where you are in your life. I think all of that feeds in, really. I think I made Bonefire at like a pace of, I was in a massive stage of, like, I felt like an awakening was happening in me, and I was finding purpose for a first time in a long time, and that felt like that sort of energy in the deck, that kind of growth energy that you get, I think, when you make your first tarot deck, which is huge. And Avatara was an entirely different headspace, and anything I make into the future will be different again. You know, I started doing this and my children were young, and now I've got a 19-year-old daughter and a 17-year-old daughter. I've got women around me.
So what projects are you working on? You have the Avatara, and is there anything else that you're planning on?
Well, I've done 36 cards of a Lenormand deck, which I've done, for me, very quickly. And the Lenormand deck is kind of a sister to Bonefire. I've called it the Bird's Eye Normand, I've called it for now. That's just a working title. But this one I've done really quick for me. This is probably like, I think probably like 200 hours total, which is really good. And I've got 2 more cards to do. So a couple of alternative people.
That's exciting. That's some really big news there. It's another deck coming out.
It's exciting, but it's quite exciting. But as my husband said, now you've just got another deck that you've got to do something with.
Are you planning on doing a Kickstarter for that, or are you gonna try?
I don't know. I don't know with Lenormand. I don't know what the audience is like for Lenormand anymore. I know that it was having a moment, probably, I don't know, the end, sort of around the end of Eclectic, 5 years or so ago. But I don't know what the audience is now for Lenormand. I've kind of taken my eye off.
There's quite a bit of people that like Lenormand. Yeah, I think that at least I know a bunch are still like looking for Lenormand. There's even, I think, a couple of Facebook groups that are specifically for like some Lenormand decks.
I've joined a couple of the groups.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but if there's gonna be a book for that, though, I'd like somebody else to write that, because I am so not qualified to write a book on Lenormand.
But those are just like, they all have their own pre-assigned meanings for each of the 36 cards. So like, you know, it's easier in that sense.
And I think you have to choose whether it's French or German. I think that's the choice to make. I think in Germany they were called the how are they called? Cards of,
I think, well, kindergarten is different, right?
No, there's apparently Lenormand was originally prior to being Madame Lenormand, the 36 card deck was it's, what do they call them, the cards of the Cards of Change or something like that.
Oh, the Game of Change or Game
The
of
Game of
Chance or something like
Yeah,
yeah.
that's something like that. I can't remember exactly, but that was the German version. I know the meanings
okay.
are slightly different, but
See,
cards
Benabel,
are the
this is a
same.
project you can work on next.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can have a Lenormand deck coming up because you wanted to
It's
change.
super uncomplicated though. If you just want to do some art, that's super uncomplicated to do. I think the book's not uncomplicated, but the art's very different just to paint a fox.
Yeah.
So
And not really
Gabby,
worry about what the fox is doing and what's the meaning of that
that's
fox.
true. Back to tarot, what is your favorite suit to illustrate? And when you were working on the Bonefire, which suit do you like the most, you're partial to? And the Avatara, which one are you partial to?
Always swords.
Always.
Every time.
So why there's so many swords people on this?
Swords.
I don't know. I just
Swords.
love it. I just love it. The Eight of Swords is my favorite, but I also love the Nine of Swords.
So what's your least favorite one?
That would be between Pentacles and Wands. Probably Wands, I think. Probably. I don't mind the Ace of Wands. I don't mind some of the Wands, but I'm not like the 2 and the 3.
The 2 and the 3 kind of there's always they're similar kind of, at least in the Rider Waite. When you look at the Rider Waite, one is looking to the sea, one is waiting for his ships. You know?
It's kind of like, here's the plan, and now I'm looking at the plan. It's always sort of seems to me like 2 stages of planning.
So I know we're very blessed that this is your first time doing a video interview in the tarot community. So we're so honored about that. So my next question is kind of a piggyback off of that. In terms of marketing, basically the rule that everyone is given as an artist is you have to be on social media. You have to be on social media. So what has that experience been like for you as an artist, being an artist and having to promote your work, the marketing on social media? What are the pressures there? What's your experience with that?
My experience is that I never do enough. I'm so far lagging behind. I'm sort of fits and starts. I'll take myself in hand and say, right, you need to do this. You need to be present, and you need to post, and you need to let people know what you're doing. And I'll go gung-ho for a good few days, and then it fades away. So I'm not great at all. Definitely, I've got. It would be more don't do what I do, really. I just don't feel like I have enough to say on a regular basis. I'm not very good at it. It's a painful part for me a little bit, really.
I think
I'm just a lurker, really.
It's just hard for artists because I think you're more introverted. Artists are in their own sort of internal world. That's where they feed off of. That's where their creativity is fed off of. So it's really hard for them to be more extroverted and go on and try to like hawk their products and merchants. So it kind of makes sense that it's difficult. I think not true artists, but I see that there is definitely that pairing, not being able to market your own stuff and being an artist.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it is like that, promoting yourself. Like are they buying into you, or is it the product? For me, it has to be just the product, really, because I don't think I have enough that I'm likely to offer. But I mean, I was the same at art school. I started with doing a fine art degree, and I couldn't talk about the work that I was doing. I couldn't do it, but some people were amazing, and you could say, oh, they're going to be the stars. I couldn't do it, so I changed and did a design course. So it was clear, there was a clear path of what I would be able to do and what was expected of me, but I certainly was never able to.
Those critique circles where you have to talk about the premise of your work?
Can't do it at all.
Those are the toughest, because
but I would love to talk about someone else's.
Well, it's always easier to critique somebody else. But there's I think in a way that is kind of what it is, right? In art school, you put your work on the wall, and they would come and walk and kind of talk about your work. And now it's like you're putting your work online, but it's not just 20 people critiquing your work. it's thousands of people critiquing your work in a way. So that is,
and also like now you're an adult as well, and not a young person that is sort of not making up things to say, but you know, finding a story and latching onto it. But now, and you know, I get to my age and I do have a lot to say, but I find it no easier to actually express it. I'm a kind of a in one room with one person type of a communicator, really.
So let me ask you, how do you, like, in terms of you're putting stuff online, right? And I'm sure all three of us, right, we've been in the situation where somebody comes up and says, I don't really like that direction, or, you know, something that would trigger, like, you know, I don't want to say negative critique, but in the sense, like, you know, that trying to convey that the direction that you're going on is not the one that is preferred. How do you make sure that you stay true to your initial vision? And if you do, or when do you decide to, like, follow whatever, you know, the feedback is?
Well, I think maybe that's part of why I don't put myself out there. I'm quite risk adverse, so I don't put myself in a position where too much of that stuff is penetrating.
That's a safe way, right?
I'm kind of a coward. It's not. I'm not really representing myself very well here, but yeah, I will take it on board, and obviously, it depends. I mean, obviously, if it's very constructive, if I've made a mistake somewhere and I'm clearly making a mistake and I'm about to run into terrible trouble for it, I will correct my direction. But generally, if it's just a little thing, if it's a creative thing, like someone doesn't want me to do a gold trim on a deck, that for me is like, well, that decision's well and truly made. But thank you for your input. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I've never really seen negative criticism of your art. Every time you post something, I mean, the feedback is very overwhelmingly positive. So I don't know if you've experienced that much negativity online, Gabby.
Not too much, but it's probably honestly because I think I'm just not very open online. I think probably the more open you are, the more people will be open with you and assume maybe you're more Teflon and stuff bounces off you. I don't know, Benabel.
Benabel is the one who's there the most. She's like,
yeah, she is. She
has a big shield.
We're super proud of you, Benabel.
Now back to the development of your decks. I know you had said that Tarot Avatara took 6-7 years. How long did Bonefire take? And just what is your process? For example, one card, how long does one card take? I know usually it varies, you know, but what was your process like?
Well, Bonefire was something under 1.5 years from the beginning to the end. But it's the amount of time you actually put into it. I think it was about 12 or 13 hours per card on average. So I think it was about I worked out it's about 1,000 hours for Bonefire for the artwork. And then for some reason, the book took me ages. I don't know, they gave me 6 months and it seemed to take ages, but I'm not particularly quick at that type of thing. That was my first book. And I don't know, the expectation of us artists to write books.
That's the scary part, right?
That's really something, isn't it, in the tarot community, that you can be the artist and the creator and you've also got to write a book.
I know.
But anyway, yeah, so that one took about 1.5 years before I was able to start producing that one myself. But at that stage I only had the little white book, which I think took about 1.5 hours.
Just curiously, off of that, like, do you have your own, because you're painting, do you have your own studio, or where do you work? Because I know it gets so messy.
Yeah, I currently don't. I've got quite a nice house because I work a day job as well, so I just make some money so we can have a house. But I have a corner, which is very much my own. I have an area downstairs in the garage. You can't put the car in the garage anymore because that's my packing kind of sending out decks area. That's really messy. And then I've got my corner here, which I'm currently in. I mean, we're currently in my corner. There we go. There's quite a lot of stuff around the place. but that's relatively, I don't know, paintings aren't very big, it's not too messy really. I'm quite a tidy person, so I will go through and tidy it up pretty. I don't go to town because the paintings are small. I mean, that's probably my next thing, is I need to do some really big paintings. I haven't done a big painting in ages, so
I know,
that needs to
basically,
probably happen.
I'm looking forward to that too. I'm waiting for the kids to grow up so I can expand and take over their rooms.
Yeah,
Okay.
kick them out.
So let me ask you, how do you see your art evolving? So you've seen a shift, right, between the Bonefire and the Avatara. You feel that for yourself. Do you see it changing even more so? Like, since you're working on this Lenormand, have you seen a transition into a different style, or are you still maintaining like the colorful, vibrant?
Not with the Lenormand, not really. I've got, like, I'll show you. This is the Lenormand, so it's very much like Bonefire.
Bonfire, yeah.
Yeah, so it's got that feel to it. It's not going to appeal to the purists because it's a bit busy, but my art's always a bit busy, so there's it's a bit too much on there for a Lenormand, but I'm not gonna over worry about that.
I love it. That's the kind of Lenormand decks that I like. I think
can you show a couple more from the Lenormand?
Yeah.
Yes,
I really like these. They're more detailed.
I hope I pinned Gabby, because I want everybody to see the image. Did you see it pinned?
Okay, so that's one of my humans.
Ooh,
I haven't decided what to call the humans at the moment.
Expressive.
That's which one is that? Oh, that's house.
Nice.
Heart.
When you do
these
colors, is that more intuitive, or do you follow like some kind, the color wheel, color theory? Because it's so on point. Is that intuitive and psychic, or is that?
No, that definitely is just. I guess it's just my thing. I mean, I've got some training in that, but mostly it's just that I've been doing. I mean, that's the moon.
Oh, it's beautiful. So it's totally good.
So it's kind of like Bonefire, but it's a lot tighter because it's cleaner. It's cleaner than Bonefire because it's me many years on from doing Bonefire. But it kind of ties in. And one of the I'm sorry, I'm turning around my back.
No, not at all. You're showing us the artwork.
No, that's what we want to see. I think it'll look so nice with the Bonefire.
I did slip Frida in though to the into the there's Scythe. See, there's one of the more boring cards that you get from the Lenormand. You find you have to paint a few things that you didn't think you'd have to paint. So
it's so brilliant how, how it has the playing card correspondences. You put the playing card correspondence as like part of the artwork, part of the composition. Yes. That's so cool. I don't think I've seen that before.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I would have liked to have put lots more things in there, but the Norman users don't like it, so it would be pointless.
I think it'll work very well with the Bonefire. I think that the style, even though it's been like a couple of years, I don't think that it's gonna like change. I think it works together. I think it's almost like they were meant to be together.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping. Yeah. So, and with the new deck that I'm doing now, as far as the direction goes, so the style's not particularly different. It's a lot softer. There's a lot more drawing element in it than painting, so it's almost watercolory, which is not at all what I normally do. So that's the change in direction, really. But that's just an artistic challenge, really. I mean, that's like with Avatara. I use the Thoth deck was the inspiration for the color, so that each of the cards is based on color wise. It uses the same Lady Frida Harris's colors.
Hence the Fauvist feel. I see the Fauvism, and that's why. From
that time, yeah. So that was kind of the idea there. But Frida also had her own color correspondences, which I was able to. I put this stuff in the book, but she also had meanings for colors of her own, like ochre was rich, hot earth, and just those types of things. So that was a different thing for me for as far as color goes. So that kind of forced my hand, and it made forced decisions on color that I wouldn't necessarily have made. So that was good. So I just need to constantly sort of set myself challenges within making another deck. So just to keep me interested, really, because it's a lot, isn't it? It's a big mountain. It's a lot of cards.
Yeah.
So aside from Frida Kahlo for the Tarot Avatara, what are some of your other artist influencers, and who would you cite as your great inspirations?
I think I've predominantly been a portrait artist. Faces have been the thing that have most inspired me, and that's why I like tarot, because it's packed full of people. But so I mean, I liked very much the expressionists. Egon Schiele, I was a big fan of. I like Klimt for the flowingness. Oh, let me think. I'm terrible with names, you know. I barely remember my own
influence. Oh my gosh, I do see it.
Yeah, so it's a bit like, do you know Egon Schiele? He did a lot of portraits, but really quite harsh.
Just one of my favorite.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So that kind of goes back to like art history kind of influences. But now, I mean, goodness me, like Instagram is just packed full.
It's like every
such amazing contemporary artists. It's like I can't hold a torch to any of these people. So there's so much art out there that I follow now. Lots of yeah.
That's not true at all. I feel like your artwork has a beautiful sophistication to it. So I don't think what you said is true at all. You absolutely hold your weight in gold. Absolutely.
Oh, well, thank you, Beneville. Thank you very much.
So I'm going to ask the final question here. What advice do you give an artist that's thinking to illustrate a deck? Like, what would you, from your experience, what's something that you think they should know?
I would say, so it's like things to be prepared for. So I would say they need to have an idea of they want to do that is maybe not just based on an art style. So if it was an illustrator going in, I would really want them to learn the tarot. So maybe to try to steer away from making a clone. So it's just sort of, so they really fall into every card. So they get to go on that journey. So go in with a real open mind and know that it could take a long time, and to commit to it is a big thing. And there's so many things in there. Like it's life-changing in so many ways, making a deck, and you're going to have more purpose for your artwork than you ever knew you would ever have. Like it's stunning. That was the thing for me, was like I'd never had, like, making like one-off paintings and things was like for no sometimes for no reason, not for anything or anyone. It was just sort of stacking up in my house, and because I can't self-promote, I wasn't selling it. But when I found tarot, was like, it was just a purpose. Like I have 78 reasons to make 78 paintings and go on this journey, and the journey involved like just a whole, like it was a whole spiritual journey. It was the best thing ever. So I would definitely say, if you can go on it, but you are going to need the time. You are going to need the commitment, and you are going, because it will change you. You're going to start you're going to start this tarot one person, you're going to come out the other end like a different person. It's amazing. So I would say go for it, but be prepared in so many ways.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. That was really good advice. I was nodding my head and just like, yes to everything you said. It really does change you. Every single deck changes you so much.
Yeah, it really does.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Gabi,
thanks for having me.
Coming here and for joining us. And I hope everybody watching, you've enjoyed our little chat, and stay tuned for next one. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gabi.
You're welcome.